The history of the amaXhosa is an epic tale full of political intrigue, family feuds, courage, cowardice, and everything in between. At the heart of it all lies one particular family, the amaTshawe. How's it? My name is Dr. Jacob Seidnout. This is my partner in all things history, Stashy, and you're watching The Historian Stash. Stashy, what are you wearing today? Is that a Xhosa headband? Is it because we're gonna show some amaXhosa history today? Well, in that case, Moga umfondini, nkabagati. The history of the amaXhosa lies very close to my heart. I did a lot of research on the amaXhosa during the course of my thesis, and I always felt it deserved far more exposure on the interwebs because just it's so flippin' interesting. But unfortunately, due to the lack of the written record, there are so many things about the amaXhosa we just don't know, and it will probably be lost forever. But the one thing we do know is that the history of the amaXhosa people is inextricably linked to one family who would shape the fate of their people. In this episode, we'll be looking at the origins of the amaXhosa people, as well as the story of Tshawe, the legendary amaXhosa king.
Sit with me. Tell me your tale.
Okay, now in South Africa, there are four major ethnic divisions among black African people. These are the Nguni, the Sotho, the Songa, and the Venda. The Nguni people are the descendants of Bantu-speaking groups who migrated here from the Great Lakes region of Central and Eastern Africa around 900 years ago. Today, they represent roughly 2/3 of South Africa's black population and can be further divided into four distinct groups, which are the Swazis from Swaziland and adjacent areas, the Ndebele in Limpopo and Mpumalanga, the Northern and Central Nguni, which are the Zulu-speaking peoples, and then the Southern Nguni, or the Xhosa-speaking peoples. The amaXhosa were pastoralists, and they moved slowly to expand their territory, almost as slowly as this.
Listen properly.
Oh, are we done? In those days, they did not have a written record, so stories and legends providing accounts of amaXhosa ancestral heroes were found in oral traditions, passed down from one generation to the next at campfires and braais.
Because fire is the stuff of warriors.
According to one of these traditions, the first person on earth was a great leader called Xhosa. Some Xhosa commentators went further by asserting that he was the son of Nguni and the brother of Swazi and Zulu. They speculated that Xhosa was a Moses-type figure.
Let my people go!
Who led his people from some remote inland area to the coastlands of the Eastern Cape, and this would later become their home. But as we've seen in episode 1, it's more likely that the word Xhosa is derived from the Ku word Xhosa, meaning angry men. Over centuries, various chiefdoms formed as a result of inner turmoil and division through the unions with the Ku and San groups whose territories were overrun and conquered by the amaXhosa, as well as through the arrival of refugees from wars up north. These chiefdoms comprised of independent clans called Tshawe, operating on their own with no real higher authority. Then, one man would come in and change the whole setup. That man was Tshawe. The story of Tshawe is the best known and most widely spread of all Xhosa traditions. This version is from the Xhosa minister and historian Xhosa, who was the brother of the famed journalist Tshawe. It goes loosely as follows. Tshawe was a favorite among his mother's people. This was because he was a bit of a badass.
I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal.
Since childhood, he had a reputation of being adventurous and courageous.
People know me. I'm very important.
Once he reached manhood, and in accordance with custom, he was granted quite a large following. As time passed, Tshawe's influence grew, and eventually he reckoned his following was strong enough to set out to visit his dad, Nkosi Yamtu. Now, Tshawe was a bit of a rock star, and his reputation preceded him throughout the land. Wherever he and his traveling band went, they were met with cheering crowds, and more people started joining his ranks.
Anyway, like I was saying, I had a lot of company.
He eventually shows up at his dad's place, only to find that his brother Xhosa is now in power. So, for a while, Tshawe awkwardly hangs around Xhosa's place with his large group of people, waiting for an opportunity to challenge Xhosa.
Oh, this is uncomfortable.
One eternity later.
Finally, one day, to everyone's relief, a general hunt is proclaimed, and because South Africans are keen for a good old hunt, even if it's just for Chizinyama that follows, people from across Xhosa land pulled in. Tshawe seized the opportunity because he just so happened to be a master hunter, like serious Rambo vibes. He managed to kill an antelope, and everyone took notice, because now they see Tshawe is legit. But according to the custom, the paramount chief, who is Xhosa, could now take a portion of the antelope for himself. Tshawe was, unsurprisingly, just a little upset about the prospect of sharing meat with his number one rival, so he refused, arguing that the animal was too small to be shared. Xhosa hit back and insisted that the antelope was big enough, but Tshawe was keen to keep the king's share for himself.
He dared to kill a king's dare. Dared to kill a king's deer.
So Xhosa then asked his brother from another mother, Xhosa, for help. Together, Xhosa and Xhosa declared war against Tshawe.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
It jumped up a notch.
It did, didn't it?
During the course of this war, Tshawe also asked for help from the neighboring Pondomise kingdom, who sent him a special group of warriors from the amaXhosa clan to fight against the combined force of Xhosa and Xhosa. This ultimately turned the tide of war. Tshawe emerged victorious, taking over as paramount chief. Xhosa reluctantly accepted defeat and decided to stay under Tshawe's rule.
Really, I don't know. What can I say?
Xhosa took more of a Rassie Erasmus stance and did not quite accept Tshawe's reign. But instead of posting videos pointing out how badly the war was officiated,
I think first of all, there's been a lot said in media and social media about, officiating.
He fled into the wilderness with a small following to seek a new home.
They must just go. I don't know where they go. And they must just go here.
Meanwhile,
Tshawe went about abolishing the independent Isiziwe so that all Xhosa clans were unified under his rule.
There can be only one.
But this particular version of the Tshawe story complicates matters. Even to this day, there are people who still think of themselves as descendants of these Isiziwe. However, historians are quick to point out that just as all amaXhosa are not the biological descendants of a man named Xhosa, so too members of an Isiziwe should not be thought of as biological descendants of the man after whom their clan was named. In any event, Tshawe became a distinguished chief who established the amaTshawe as the royal clan of the amaXhosa nation, and remains so to this day.
Everything the light touches is our kingdom.
Wow. That's it for now. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay stashy.